Oh, geez. We're going to see if this works. I don't know.
This podcast discusses mature subject matter. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Chasing the Lost. This podcast discusses mature subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
Suffolk Police 843, what is the location of your emergency? Hello, do you need, hi, do you need the police?
I need ambulance immediately. My son's not breathing.
Okay, stay on the line. Your son, who's not breathing, how old is he? How old is he?
8.
8?
Yes. He fell down. He banged his head.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
I took him. I gave him a shower to try and help him out a little bit. Stop breathing.
Okay.
CPR.
County Fire Rescue number 50. What's the address of the emergency?
11 Bittersweet Lane, Cinema Richards, New York, 11934.
11 Bittersweet, nearest street on the corner.
Yes.
Are you off of Barberry? Sir, what's your name?
My name is Michael. I'm a police officer with the city of New York. My son, I don't know if he's breathing or not. I don't know if his heart stopped. He fell down on his way to the bus. He banged his head pretty good. I brought him in, and I'm doing CPR right now.
All right. How old is he?
8 years old.
Okay. Do you need any instructions, sir?
I just need somebody to get here quick.
Listen, I already sent them, okay? Help is already on the way. Do you need any other kind of help?
Not at your time, I believe.
All right. Is your front door unlocked for them?
Yep.
All right. Keep on doing CPR. We already sent help, okay?
30.
All right. I'm going to hang up now. Is that all right? Do you need me for anything?
No, just please get somebody here.
Okay. We're going to get somebody right there, okay? Third number?
843.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Yep. All right, sir, I'm going to stay on with you till I get there, all right?
Okay.
What is your name?
My name is Mike Valva.
Mike, okay.
19, 20. His belly is filling up a lot as I'm doing CPR.
It's filling up?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me transfer you back to rescue. All right, because they would be able to let you know if that's normal. All right, hold on, Mike. Don't hang up. Okay.
Okay.
You have reached the County Fire Rescue.
Just stay with me, Mike.
Dispatchers are currently processing other emergency calls. Please stay on the line.
I just didn't hear a heartbeat.
Do you hear a heartbeat? I couldn't hear.
County Fire
I
Rescue
wasn't
number
sure if I
9.
could hear a heartbeat.
Hey, number 9. Hey, 11 Bittersweet, East Mauritius. I'm on with Mike. He's a police officer, NYPD. His 8-year-old fell down, hit his head, not breathing. CPR is in progress. He said the child's belly is filling up. He wants to know, is this normal or not? We have rescue on the way, and please, if you could assist him further, please.
Hello, sir, are you there?
Mike?
Yes.
Mike, rescue's back on.
We have help on the way. He knows CPR. What does he need us to do?
He had some questions.
Is that normal?
What's going on?
His belly is filling up like it's filling up with air.
Well, if you're putting air into his mouth, then some of it is going to go into his belly, yes, but some of it is going to go into his lungs too, and that's what we need. We need air going into his lungs if he's not breathing. If he vomits, you're going to have to turn him on his side. But you sure he's not breathing?
I don't know, to be honest.
They're on their way. What's going on right now? Does he have any medical history?
No,
Mike?
no medical history. Just autism spectrum.
Okay. Any bleeding?
Well, I mean, he cut his elbow.
What did he hit his head on? What did he fall on?
Concrete.
Concrete? Are you having flat on his back on the floor?
Huh?
I don't want to bother you if you're busy doing CPR, but I'm just trying to make sure we have all the information we need. He's on the floor. He's flat on his back.
He's on the sofa.
You got to get him on a hard surface on the floor.
All right, I'm moving him. We're in the basement, by the way, when they enter.
Basement? Where's the entrance?
Mike, where's the entrance?
Front entrance.
Front entrance, use? Okay.
Door open?
ETA?
We're getting one right now. They're on the road.
Yeah, he's not breathing.
Keep going until someone takes over or tells you to stop.
He?
They're less than a minute out, sir. You can send someone to the door to meet them.
Police are also there, Mike.
He fell down and banged his head. He was a little messy. I took the shower. He was okay. And all of a sudden, I saw him breathing. So I pulled him out. Started to have him dressed.
Yeah, our unit's on scene.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna disconnect.
Hold up, too.
Ambulance just pulled up. Okay.
What's your number?
843.
Thank you.
Thank you, 9. Bye.
This is the case of Thomas Valva. This will not be an easy story to listen to. It's one that's going to make you question the things that you know. Do you believe in our system and our officials and what's right? Do you think if it's ever you that you're going to be heard? This case may make you second guess all of that. Michael Valva was a New York City police officer. Justina Zupko and Michael married in 2004. Justina had come to the US from Poland on a visa in 2002, and the couple had their first child, Anthony, in 2009. Thomas was born in 2011, and Andrew came along in 2013. While initially happy, the marriage was rocky for quite some time during the end. Anthony had been diagnosed with autism when he was little, and Justina had found him a program in Manhattan called FIT, and that would help Anthony with his disability with services. And she would take the long trek from Long Island to Manhattan often to ensure that Anthony was receiving all of the services that he could to help him improve. In 2014, Michael was having an affair with a woman named Angela Pollina, and he left the family home. Justina knew that it was due to cheating, as it hadn't been the first time. Michael ends up filing for divorce in 2015. A fierce battle began between the two parents. Justina made claims of adultery, Michael pointing his service weapon at her, along with emotional, verbal, and financial abuse. Court records would show that Justina claimed Michael would often fail to even make modest support payments. Justina claimed that he was not an active parent. Along with her was a behavioral psychologist who co-founded Fit Learning, where Anthony attended, who agreed. She did not have communication with Michael, only when it came to money, because he didn't want to pay the co-pays for Anthony's services. She would say that Justina was an incredible mother who often checked on her children's progress. She was very attentive. After the divorce proceedings started, Justina continued to take Anthony to FIT while she attended a training course to become a New York City corrections officer. She chose what may be one of the very toughest jobs in the city because, along with the paycheck that she needed, it offered her the same insurance plan that her husband had with the NYPD, and that would ensure Anthony could continue to take part in their special needs programs. Dr. Behrens would say that woman became a corrections officer for the sole reason of maintaining the medical insurance to preserve the services her children needed. Young Tommy was also diagnosed with autism. So now you had both Anthony and Tommy receiving these services. The divorce, as I said, was fierce between these two. It wasn't just the divorce, it was a custody battle. And in 2016, an attorney named Donna McCabe was assigned to the Valva boys. Her sole job was to represent the boys and their best interest during this custody battle. However, the attorney was being paid for by Mr. Valva. During 2016, Michael proposed to Angela. This is before his divorce from Justina is completely done. They're still battling in court, but one day at a New York Yankees game, Michael proposed to Angela, and she said yes. He hid her ring in a popcorn box, and the Yankees won that day, and everything was wonderful. So now they were engaged. Angela had 3 daughters, and Michael had 3 sons. So it's kind of like the Brady Bunch. When Michael initially instigated divorce proceedings, Justina retained custody of the children. One of the first judges to hear any of the case, which turned into a very long case, Judge Rigliano, barred Michael. After hearing evidence, he barred him from even having overnight visits with his sons because there was enough evidence to prove that while he had his sons, he was taking pictures of his genitalia and sending them to women online. And the mother found this inappropriate, and apparently so did the judge. So Justina kept full custody, and Michael had visits. On June 1st, 2016, Justina went and made a police report. I'm going to attempt to read that police report to you now. Keep in mind that her English is not perfect, so I may have to clarify on some of the words, but this is very important to know that these things were reported prior to all of the custody issues happening later. I was informed by my son Anthony, who is 7 years old, that while at his father's house located at 144 Bloomingdale Road with his father's girlfriend Angela Pollina and their two daughters who are 8 years old, and his two brothers Thomas Valva, 5 years old, and Andrew Valva, 3 years old, they were sexually abused. Anthony further stated that he and his two brothers were told to remove all their clothes while their father, Michael, and his girlfriend, Angela, and their daughters were already naked. Anthony further stated his father, Michael, did have him lick the 8-year-old girl's belly. Anthony further told me that his father, Michael, did touch his penis and did insert his thumb into his anus. I was also informed by my son Andrew that his father Michael did touch his penis and did insert his finger and some toys that vibrate into his anus. Andrew also told me that his father's girlfriend Angela did hold his arms down while his father Michael licked his penis. All three boys, Anthony, Thomas, and Andrew, have also informed me that a recording device was being used. This is a true statement in my own words. On July 30th of 2016, Justina did bring her children to the health clinic. She wanted them to have a pediatric assessment for sexual abuse. In the comments, it says, sexual assault evidence acquired by M. Harris, MD, awaiting ACS, will continue to monitor. That is on Anthony's paperwork. It says the same exact thing for Andrew, and it says the same exact thing for Tommy. So they're saying that they took a kit for these children and that they are awaiting ACS to monitor the situation. Later on, we will find out exactly what happened with these allegations. Later in 2016, the case was transferred to a Judge Zimmerman. It was June of 2017 when Judge Zimmerman issued an order for a lawyer to defend Justina. Justina very much wanted to defend herself. The attorney turned out to be a partner of the children's attorney, Donna McCabe's partner, a man named Mark Green. Justina saw this as a conflict of interest because Michael was paying Donna to represent the boys in a case where you needed people to be impartial. So these things were setting off flags in Justina's head. Additionally, there was a letter written by Michael's attorney. I'm unsure who this letter was to, but it was further proof for Justina that something was going on here between the judge and the attorneys and CPS. This letter says, quote, "Please be advised, Michael Valva is in the middle of a divorce proceeding, and the home at 250 North Corona Ave, Valley Stream, will be subject to equitable distribution in the aforementioned proceedings. Upon closing of his new primary residence at 11 Bittersweet Lane, Sentinel Riches, Mr. Valva will list his Corona, New York property for sale immediately after closing on the new primary home. Based off the current situation, Mr. Valva will be receiving close to 100% custody of his children. She, meaning Justina, might be entitled to supervised visits. His kids will be living with him at 11 Bittersweet Lane. End quote. So this letter is 2 months prior to Judge Zimmerman issuing a final order in the custody matter. This just fueled Justina's thoughts that something was going on if this attorney was so confident that Mr. Valva would be receiving close to 100% custody. In any case, another hearing is held in September of 2017, and at that time, Zimmerman grants temporary custody to Michael. There was no proof provided of any wrongdoing by Justina, no hearing to determine her unfit. Her only problem was she refused the court order to get a psych eval unless it was videotaped. They refused that, saying that the contents were too sensitive, so they would not videotape it. She felt as though it would need to be in case something further came up where the psych eval was challenged. So at that point, she refused and custody was granted to Michael. Again, it was supposed to be temporary. Justina tried to make several statements about what she had been witnessing going on with her children. At one point, Justina did put recorders in the children's backpacks. She was extremely concerned that Michael and Angela were doing things trying to undermine her and poison the children's minds against her. And I know that may sound paranoid. However, we are going to listen to some of those tapes, and they may be a little difficult to hear, so I will repeat after what the children were saying.
Daddy and...
Daddy, and then
Who else?
wow.
I love Daddy Ninja.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I love Daddy Ninja.
Wow. I love Diana. Mama, who do you love? Chocolate.
I love Daddy.
I love Mommy. I love Jerusalem.
I don't love Mommy.
Mommy.
Mommy. Mommy. Mommy, I love Daddy.
No, I want Mommy.
I love Daddy.
I want Mommy.
Mommy is mean.
Mommy is me.
Mommy is mean.
Mommy is me.
Mommy said,
Dog.
who do you love?
Diana and Dawn.
Who do you... Huh? Who do you want to live with?
Diana and Dawn.
There you go, buddy.
I want to live with Daddy. I want to see Daddy. I wanna see Daddy. I want to see his son. Mommy, you're not nice. I want to live with Daddy. I wanna see Daddy. I wanna see Daddy. I want to see his son. Mommy, you're not nice. Mommy, you're not nice. Mommy, you're not nice. You are not nice. I'm not proud of you, Mommy. I'm not proud of you, Mommy.
I have fun with Daddy and Angela.
I have fun with Daddy and Angela. Oh, we're fun. Yeah.
Thomas, you want to stay with me? Who do you love?
Daddy.
Who do you want to stay with?
Daddy.
Who do you miss?
Daddy.
Who do you want to live with?
Daddy.
Mommy is mean.
Daddy.
Mommy hits me.
Mommy hits me.
Mommy don't touch me.
Mommy don't touch me.
I love Angela. I love Daddy.
I love Daddy.
What do you say, Anthony? I love Angela. I can't hear you.
What do you say?
I love Angela. Louder, Anthony. Anthony, I love Angela.
I love
I love Daddy.
I love Daddy.
I love you, Anthony. I love you.
Can I have some water?
I'll get you some more water. Anthony, do you love me?
Yeah.
Do you love me? Louder. Say, I love you.
I love you, Daddy.
Oh, thank you. I love you, Andrew. No. When somebody says they love
I
you.
love you.
That's right. Tommy's got it. And Andrew, try again. I love you, Andrew. Say, I love you, Daddy.
I love you, Daddy.
There you go. Tommy, I love you.
I love you.
Thank you.
More water. You got water?
It's water.
You got water, Daddy?
I will get you some water.
Got water.
I will get you some water. I want. Who do you love? Who do you want to stay with? Who do you miss? Who do you want to live with? Mommy is mean. Mommy hits me. Mommy don't touch me. I love Angela. I love Daddy. What do you say, Anthony? I love Angela. I can't hear you.
What do you say?
I love Angela. Louder, Anthony. Anthony, I love Angela.
I love
I love Daddy.
I love Daddy.
I love you, Anthony. I love you.
Can I have some more water? I'm thirsty.
I'll get you some more water. Anthony, do you love me?
Where?
Do you love me?
Sir, can
Louder. Say, I love you.
I love you, Daddy.
Oh, thank you. I love you, Andrew.
Come on.
No. When somebody says they love
I
you.
love you.
That's right. Tommy's got it. And Andrew, try again. I love you, Andrew. Say, I love you, Daddy.
I love you, Daddy.
There you go. Tommy, I love you.
I love you.
Thank you.
I want more water.
I will get you some water.
Daddy, so you got water?
I'm going to get you some water.
That you got water, Daddy?
I will get you some water.
You got water.
I will get you some water.
I want Edward. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
I want Angela.
You can hear in those clips that Angela and Michael are coercing the children into repeating after them. And if you've ever known children with autism, many times they have part of their disability as repeating. So if you say it to them enough, soon they will repeat those same sentiments. And Anthony's autism seemed to be somewhat more severe than Tommy's. And Tommy was much younger at that time. But you could hear them try to say that they loved mommy. And as soon as they would say that, the opposite would be repeated back. Even worse things were repeated back. To say, I don't love mommy. I'm not proud of you, mommy. These are things that were being drilled into the boys' heads during car rides and at other times. And at some point, the children may have repeated those things to CPS. In January of 2018, things dramatically changed for Justina and her boys. A case was brought against her for neglect. In addition, a protection order was granted. Justina was not at the hearing for that. It happened without her being available to be there. So a protection order and a custody order granting Michael full custody and having Justina have supervised visits. At this point, Justina had known of all of the reports that were happening through the school and through herself, to include the school psychologist, the school principal, and others who were so concerned, in addition to her filing the police reports about sexual abuse. So all of these things were extremely overwhelming. She wasn't understanding why all of this was happening to her. She could not afford to get an attorney. She was representing herself. So things remained as they were. They had a team of people on the CPS side, as well as Michael's attorneys, and Justina just couldn't prove her case. So as things went on, the school psychologist had filed a report in September of 2018, again about the boys being very hungry and coming to school in pull-ups when, despite their ages, they had been toilet trained for years, yet they were now having accidents at school. Tommy did confide that his dad and Angela left them alone and didn't return until after dark. They would often get in trouble for having toilet accidents. Another complaint was filed by the school principal that Tommy had come to school with bruises and a swollen right eye, and Tommy had given conflicting stories. Obviously, these children were afraid of, if we say certain things, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. Anthony's behavior was becoming extremely concerning. He would begin screaming in class and tearing things up, just very uncharacteristic of Anthony, who was a pretty calm, sweet boy. To continue, in April of 2018, they're back in court, this time in front of a Judge Lawrence regarding custody. And there was one piece of the transcript that I really wanted you to hear. So Justina asks the judge, quote, "Is Your Honor waiting for my child to die under the care of Michael Valva and Angela Pollina?" End quote. The judge does not reply to her. Justina continues on, quote, because that's what it's leading to. Michael is hitting the children and beating them up and nothing is being done. I want to see my children, end quote. The judge denies the motion and she asks, quote, why? On what basis? My children's lives are in danger, Your Honor, end quote. The judge replies to her, quote, because I said so, end quote. That piece of transcript infuriated me. This is a court of law, and this judge could have stepped in and really made a difference in this situation. But their behavior led her to believe that this is not something that they do. The judge was emotionless and basically just said, if all of this is happening, call the authorities. Justina brought up about them sleeping in the garage, them being freezing, showing up to school, coming to school soaked in urine. And at one point, the judge says, quote, Miss Valva, move along. I can't remember everything you're saying because you're just saying too much, end quote. This is a case regarding her 3 babies. Yes, she probably was saying too much, but she was trying at that point to save her children. Nothing happened. February 2019, all the way through 2019, numerous CPS reports were filed for things like them being soaked in urine, them showing up to school freezing and red, them alleging they had to sleep in a garage, Anthony's behavior. Anthony admitted to his teachers that his father and Angelina told him to behave in a way that they instructed, and if he did so, he would get to go to Chuck E. Cheese. Now, the principal believed that the couple was coaching him to misbehave to strengthen an argument that Anthony was out of control, and this would help Michael and Angela put him into a residential school. The district had refused for Anthony to enter the school because his behavior and his disability did not warrant that. So the couple figured, well, if we can get him to act this way, perhaps they'll let him in. One day, Anthony was kicking and screaming and refusing to get off the bus, and his teacher, who he was close to, was able to coax him, and they sat and had a conversation, and he told her that he wasn't allowed food that morning. And when asked why, she said it was because he was on the mattress in the garage and he wasn't supposed to be. He also wasn't allowed in his bedroom because of his accidents. In May, another teacher filed another report with CPS about bruises on the children. One of the bruises was on Tommy's forehead, and Tommy tried to lie initially and, avoid the question, but it came out that his father threw the backpack and it hit him in the head. He also admitted that his dad had squeezed his hands because he had an accident. There was another report that Tommy had a welt. Michael was finally contacted. He refused to let the boys be interviewed at school, where they might have felt freer to speak. He refused to have the other children in the home interviewed. And in the investigation, New York State Child Protective Services states, the CPS worker, in consultation with a CPS supervisor, must assess within 24 hours of the refusal whether it is necessary to seek a court order to obtain access. CPS didn't do any of this. The only assumption could be is because Michael was very intimidating and he was a city employee. He was a police officer. so they let all of these things go. More reports. In June of 2019, Anthony came to school with his nose swelled up and blood in both nostrils. They wanted him to go to the nurse, and he began to scream. They finally called Michael and Angela, who said, "Oh, he woke up like that." They let him know on the phone, "Go to the bathroom, wash it off, and if it continues, you can go to the nurse." And as that morning went on, his nose did swell up and bruise. He also had faint red lines on the back side of his wrists. Only one allegation resulted in anything at all being done regarding Michael and Angela. Michael was told to take a court-ordered parenting class and refrain from harmful activities. I don't know which harmful activity they mean, from the sexual abuse to starving the children to hitting them to making them sleep on a cold concrete floor. But in any case, that order was imposed by the family court judge, Bernard Chang, who we talked about a little earlier. Soon that case against Michael was closed, though. And Judge Chang did sense something was wrong in the Valva household, but he stated his hands were tied. The attorney for CPS argued in that hearing that all of these concerns that were brought up were non-issues. Judge Chang disagreed, stating that the concerns seemed valid, and he stated that he had knowledge of child development and that Anthony was deteriorating in his level of functioning and his needs weren't being met. But ultimately, he had to rely on the opinions of CPS. The judge did express his concerns, and again, nothing was done. In November of 2019, 2 more teachers filed complaints. They were extremely frustrated by this point. The children came in with bruises and cuts, and they were told they got them playing football. However, the story changed multiple times, and the boys were very uncomfortable when speaking about how their faces were injured. The report, of course, expressed that the boys were too thin and they were begging for food, sneaking food, hiding food, and eating food off of the floor. On the day of January 17th, the 911 call that you heard at the beginning of this was taken. Thomas Valva was taken to Long Island Community Hospital. When he arrived, his body temperature was 76 degrees. The medical examiner ruled his death a homicide, with hypothermia listed as a major contributing factor. An investigation into what happened to Tommy began. Police discovered that the night before, Michael had become upset with Tommy for whatever reason and beat him, and then made him stay in the garage, which was unheated, overnight. The temperature got down to 19 degrees. When discovered by Michael the next day, he tried putting Tommy in a warm bath to raise his temperature, but that didn't work. All the while that he is doing this, Angela's in the mirror doing her hair. She didn't seem very concerned. Michael told 911 that his child fell on the concrete driveway waiting for the bus. Police Commissioner Geraldine Hart held a press conference Friday following Thomas's death.
Good afternoon. I would first like to introduce Suffolk County Police Commissioner Geraldine Hart. She is joined by First Deputy Commissioner James Skopek, Chief of Department Stuart Cameron, Chief of Detectives Gerard Giganti, Deputy Chief of Detectives Matthew Lewis, Homicide Squad Commanding Officer Detective Lieutenant Kevin Byer, and Homicide Squad Detective Sergeant Stephen Geyer. At the end of the press conference, we will take a few questions, but please remember this is an active investigation and there's certain information we're not going to be able to discuss. Thank you. Commissioner?
Thank you, Dawn. Good afternoon. Before we begin, I want to express my sincerest condolences to Thomas Valva's family and friends, especially his siblings. We are here to discuss the arrests of Michael Valva and Angela Pollina for the death of Michael's 8-year-old son, Thomas. The couple has been charged with murder in the second degree because they engaged in conduct which created a grave risk of death to this child. Thomas Valva was subjected to freezing temperatures in the home's unheated garage overnight when the outside temperature was 19 degrees. We first responded to 11 Bittersweet Lane in Center Moriches on January the 17th at 9:40 a.m. after Michael Valva reported that his son Thomas fell in the driveway while waiting for the school bus an hour earlier. Michael indicated that his son lost consciousness after the fall, but has remained unconscious. When the officers arrived, Michael Valva was performing CPR on his son in the basement. Thomas was transported to Long Island Community Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. At the time of his arrival at the hospital, Thomas's body temperature was 76 degrees. As with any unattended death, homicide detectives conducted an investigation which revealed inconsistencies in the timing and the nature of the child's injuries as reported by his father. We have determined Thomas was never in the driveway that morning, and he suffered head and facial injuries that were not consistent with the father's account. During the past week, homicide detectives conducted a round-the-clock investigation, which included the review of video and audio recordings captured on the family's home surveillance system, both inside and outside the house. The recordings show the pair was closely monitoring the activities and conversations of their 6 children, Michael's 3 sons, ages 6, 8, and 10, and Angela's daughters, 11-year-old twins and a 6-year-old. We believe that the 10 and 8-year-old boys were subjected to punishment, including food deprivation and exposure to extremely frigid temperatures. We are still investigating the extent of the abuse and if it extended to all the children. Following Thomas's death, the department notified Suffolk County CPS and assisted in the emergency removal of the other 5 children on January the 17th. The children are currently in a safe environment. These arrests are not the end of the investigation. We are still processing evidence and conducting interviews. This case has hit our department hard, even the most seasoned detectives. I would like to thank our homicide squad for their countless hours in seeking justice for this little boy. I would also like to acknowledge and thank all the agencies that assisted us in this investigation: the New York City Police Department, the East Moriches School District, the FBI, the Department of Social Services, the Medical Examiner, and the District Attorney's Office. I'll take any questions that you might have. So the Medical Examiner has ruled it a homicide with a major contributing factor of hypothermia.
So both boys
Just
were
one
in
at a
the
time.
garage? Both boys were kept in the garage overnight for how long?
So it's under investigation, but we believe certainly that Thomas was kept in the garage overnight preceding his death.
And the brother?
That's under further investigation.
Can you describe the condition of the house? You walked in, what the officers walked in, describe the house.
So the father was, as I said, conducting CPR on the child in the basement of the house. The garage that I'm referring to is attached to the house. It is unheated and unfinished.
You spoke to the mother earlier this week, and she said that there were tons of reports that were given to CPS and with the school district and so forth like that, and she lost custody, didn't have custody. Are you looking into that? Who can talk about the CPS investigation and why these children were in the home after years of abuse?
Sure, certainly. So I will tell you that an event of this magnitude, the death of a child of this age, is just unimaginable to all of us as parents, as a mother. I can tell you that we are going to look at every interaction that this child had with the system, and we're going to follow through and make sure that we investigate every avenue.
Commissioner, have you been able to substantiate these abuse claims that this has transpired for some period of time?
Again, that's all part of this investigation, and we're going to continue to look into that.
And the school nurse and the school district, it seems as though everyone has been aware of this for some time. Is Suffolk Police in charge of CPS? Or how does that work?
No, we're not. But I can tell you that I have been in constant contact with the commissioner of the Department of Social Services. We're working closely together to make sure that we are investigating every avenue and every contact that this family had with services.
Commissioner, what does your father do for a living?
He's a New York City police officer.
Have police been to that house before? Ever?
So I have examined our calls for service to that house since the time that they moved in. And we had calls for service that involved the custody arrangement of the family. We had one, check the welfare, which we responded to in 2019, May of 2019. And when we did respond, the family was not at home. We talked to the neighbors, and they had said that the family was in Queens at the time.
Commissioner, you said the body temperature is very, very low. Malnourishment at all?
So that's part of the investigation.
Commissioner, is it clear whether he was out there one night or 2 nights? We don't know.
So we're not certain yet.
You mentioned that the 8 and the 10-year-old boys were put in the garage. There's also another boy who I guess wasn't. So we also heard that the 8 and 10-year-old boys have autism. Can you confirm that? And so were the boys with autism put in the garage, whereas the other 4 children were not?
So that's something that we're still investigating.
Do you think this have autism?
I believe his mother had said that he had was suffering from autism.
Thank you.
Did Michael Valva attempt to commit suicide last night? Was there an incident at his house?
So, what did it take for Justina to get her children back? It took the murder of her middle son. She finally was heard, but not really. She was technically given them back because Michael decided to torture Tommy. Justina had set up her Twitter account in January of 2018. She tagged as many people as she could that she thought maybe could help. News stations, talk show hosts, politicians, police. Nobody listened. She filed report after report. She went to the police. She went in front of judges. Nobody listened. One of her Twitter posts read, "My children are being harmed and abused for a very long time by their father and his girlfriend, but nobody wants to help them." Another one reads, "I don't even know if my children are alive at this point. Please pray for my family and share this post with everyone to go viral and help my children receive justice that they deserve." I want you to keep in mind, Justina had not seen Tommy in a very, very long time. She refused to submit to the orders that they kept insisting upon. Was that her mistake? I don't believe so. I think that they really tortured this mother. At every turn, she was turned away. She wasn't believed. And later on, you will find out much, much more of what was going on. Justina did bring her remaining children, Anthony and Andrew, to a child psychologist who details the most horrific things. Michael and Angela are on trial. Not surprisingly, Michael's case, no cameras, no audio. The one media outlet that is covering it is behind a paywall. So we wait each day to see what notes people took or what people can find out about what happened in court that day. Will justice be served? They are being tried separately, and I do know that Michael's case will never be live streamed for people to watch. Maybe after the fact it will. And I don't know if Angela's case is going to be the same way. But in part 2 of this, we're going to go over the lawsuit that Justina filed against all of the people who ultimately failed her child. This is not over yet. Please pray for justice for Thomas and pray for Justina, Anthony, and Andrew. So, this case kills me. It absolutely kills me. She tried. She fought for her child forever. The amount of digging and research that was done to even present only 1 hour is minuscule in comparison to what this mother went through. I remember hearing about the case and following the mother on social media. And she was trying to get justice back then, so long ago. And for a while, things just went silent. And the more that I researched for this, the more I realized it is very common, yes. There are so many other stories that are so much like this. There's a woman now who was just jailed for 3 weeks for not submitting to what they want her to do. In this case, it was a Donna McCabe who was hired. This video would have been 10 hours had I put everything in there. But Donna McCabe was hired to represent the boys during the contentious divorce and custody hearing. Her intentions were to be for the boys. That's all she was there for. Yet, she was being paid $300 an hour by Michael. And then when they tried to assign a lawyer and make Justina, the mother, take an attorney, it was the partner of Donna McCabe, which was insane. And that's the thing. She's a Polish immigrant in the US, and she married Michael, and for some time they had a decent relationship, I suppose, but her English wasn't the best. And she was trying to communicate all of these things with the court system and the CPS system. And because she was tough and she would not submit, she ended up with allegations against her. And that caused them to say that she had to have supervised visits for her son, for all of her children. And she refused. She would not submit to them. And ultimately, even though the schools were trying to address things, it wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. And it became awful. Some of the things that are in these files are shocking. They're shocking. Just to prime you for what is coming up. And this will be in part 2. Michael Valva found out that he is a suspect of sexual abuse of our kids. He knew that from now on, he has to be extremely careful not to get caught. Many times, the children were claiming that the father was giving them a bath or shower during visitations. Whatever medical evidence that could lead to uncovering the truth was probably destroyed. Michael Valva is a police officer above the law. The Nassau County Police 2nd Precinct did not conduct any investigation in regards to my police report filed on 8/4 of 2016. They did not take any action to search the house of Michael Valva and secure the evidence pertaining to the sexual abuse of my children, including the camera that, according to the testimony of my children, Michael Valva was using to record them without clothing. There's a lot more. There's a lot more, including Michael's bank accounts and money. She refused to comply with a psych eval. Laura, they wanted her to undergo a psych eval, and she said, sure, I will, but I want it taped, because they had put her through so much shit already, and they said, no, it's too sensitive. We can't have you. No, there'll be no taping. And so for a while, they just gave her supervised custody, and she was beside herself because she would have to pick up and drop off in front of Michael's home. One of the things that I want to show you guys that I didn't put in there because it's heartbreaking. This one is awful, but I will grab it. This mother loves her children, so you can hear it. Here we go.
Hi, Anthony! Hi! Go Cookie's house. Go, baby. Hi, buddy! Hi, Andrew! Let him go! Hi, Andrew! Let them go! They can come to me! Let him go! Let him go! He wants to come here, Andrew! Let him go! What are you doing to them? Every single come here, baby. I got you.
I'll be back.
No, he's not crying that he's gonna be back. He's crying that you're restricting them. Okay, I got you. Quickly, let's go. Let's go, Tommy. Let's go. Okay. I got you. I got you. It's okay.
And you can hear him in the back still yelling from his car because he was just a narcissist. So that was that part of it. There's another piece that I didn't put in.
Yeah. Dora still wants me to push you down, and I did push you down still. Who's saying that? Delana wants you to push me down? Yeah, and I did it. Again. Yeah. Again. Mommy, stop. I did it, Mommy. Why she wants you to push me down? Because take a portion. She wants you to be dead. She wants me to be dead? Yeah. She said that to you? Yes. What did she say? She said, let Mommy be dead. She told you that she wants me to be dead? Yeah. Oh no, Mommy! And I don't want you to do, and I don't want you to be like that. Oh no, Mommy! God. Mommy! I did push you down, really. Excuse me, Mom. I really did push you down, Mommy. That is not nice what she's telling you. Mommy, I did push you down. Mommy, I did push you down. I know. Yes. Dora still wants me to push you.
So the person telling him that she wanted the mother to be dead was one of the daughters of Angela. That, push her down and she can be dead. They had the girls often participate in these horrible things that were going on. It's an absolute nightmare. Everything that I've found out, it's an absolute nightmare. And it's still going on. It's still going on because they're not sharing this case. Have you seen this case in the media? Unless you're a local, probably not. It came out in the beginning that a New York City police officer, let his child freeze to death in a garage. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that happening. And then it just faded away, right? So yeah, stories fade away. And then I remembered the story and I thought about the trial. And I saw a post on Facebook and I'm like, oh, that was the little boy who died in the garage. So I started searching for the trial. No. Then I find out that Newsweek is covering it behind a paywall. So there's that. Now, I do have daily notes that I have here that we're going to go over on the trial, and those will be on live streams. I'm going to record part 2 of this tomorrow. I already have everything ready. And then from there on, we'll do live streams to go over the notes from the trial. It's a little discombobulated the way that I'm going to be doing it, but it's really the only way for it to be done. The other thing is the text messages that they were able to get from that day. Here was their fatal mistake. They had cameras everywhere, including the garage. They gave the password and the user information to the police. But as the police were obtaining evidence, they changed the password midstream. But they gathered enough to hear a conversation between Michael, Angela, and one of the children. One of the children asked, "Why does he keep falling down?" And Angela said, "Because that's what happens when you have hypothermia." She's doing her hair the entire time in the mirror. And Michael puts him in the bath. And Michael's calling him names. And he's disgusted, basically, that all of this is happening. I mean, I'm sure it's quite inconvenient for him. And when he gets to the hospital and they tell him that his son is dead, he says, "Well, I've been through a lot more stressful than this." Oh, you have. Okay. So there's that. It's been through a lot more stressful things. I don't know. I can tell you that there was about $500,000 put into Michael's bank accounts. And when we get to the reports from the psychologists, you'll probably understand why there was that much money put into his bank accounts that she continued to ask about. When during the divorce, so much of that was just redacted. Yeah, from Long Island. So much was redacted out of it. And finally, she got unredacted copies of his bank statements and saw all these huge deposits going in. If you're going to take a guess, where do you think those came from? Based on what the psychologist found out from the children, I would take a wild guess and say that I know where the money was coming from. Oh, dirty cop who was very likely selling his children. Yeah, he was a Long Island cop. Oh no, he did a GoFundMe to pay for the funeral with $500,000 in payments coming in randomly to his bank account. Yeah. Remember, there were cameras everywhere in that house. everywhere, and they all recorded voice. They were able to record the boys, Tommy, in the garage, falling. He was freezing. They didn't have a mattress. They were not allowed a blanket. They had to just sleep in the garage on the cold concrete floor. Oh, voices, so many. I recorded this several times and rewrote it several times. And you get choked up. My son is 8 years old, just like Tommy. My son has autism, just like Tommy. Angela's daughters were verbally abused. Yes, they were yelled at a lot and insulted, but none of them, nor Andrew, the littlest boy, had to sleep in the cold garage. Only Tommy and Anthony, because they had accidents. They never had accidents before they lived with their dad. The accidents only started happening after. Yeah, no blankets, no way to use the bathroom, no food. They would go to school with half of a Nutella sandwich, 2 snacks, and a water bottle. They were found many times eating off the floor, eating out of the trash, eating the leftovers that the kids would leave in the cafeteria. They would beg children for food. They would beg teachers for food because they weren't allowed to eat at home. They weren't allowed to drink at home because they had accidents, and Angela didn't like that. Yes, this was his biological children. Yep. If you rewind, you'll hear everything, including the 911 call. It was, nobody intervened. There were like 15 reports to CPS. Yes, starving your children is illegal. It's awful. The whole thing's awful. My son did name his puppy Tommy, and he has no idea about this little boy, Prissy. I didn't even think about that. Weird, right? The school is accountable as well. The school got to the point where they flooded the CPS phone lines, but that was at the very end, when one of their BMIs was just over 1% and the other was under 1%. That's their body mass index. They were literally starved. Oh, they are not. They are on trial, Amanda. They have not been convicted. No. Say it was a tragic accident. They had no idea such a thing could happen. No idea. How would you know? Starving your children, beating your children, manipulating their minds, sexually abusing them, allowing others to sexually abuse them, and then making them sleep in a 19-degree garage on the concrete. How would you ever know? Now, there is part of the trial where a relative of Michael's says that Michael actually was hosing Tommy down. When they showed up on that day, the police and EMS, Tommy's pants were down to his knees. He had no socks on, no underwear, no shirt. He said it's because he peed on himself, so they were going to change him, and they put him in the shower and all of these things. You doused him with water from the hose after leaving him in a garage that was 19 degrees? Could that be why his body temperature was 76 when he got to the hospital? Yeah. The mother has the other 2 boys, Anthony and Andrew. Yes. Not that that really helps, right? The school doesn't provide lunch. I mean, the dad made quite enough money, and the mother became a corrections officer in order to keep their insurance. He was ordered, I think, to pay something like $200 a week, and wasn't even making his payments. So she had to do something. This mother traveled from Long Island to Manhattan. That's quite a trip, to ensure that her son had the right type of therapy for his autism. Michael never once went to check out the school or see if his son was doing okay. Nothing. But he certainly called when it was time to pay the co-payments, because he did not want to pay those. So much in this case. And it is painful. It's a painful one to listen to. I understand. Hey, shame, honey. Yeah, the school, they should have, I don't know. But he would come into the school with a gun on his hip, wearing a tank top and jeans. And he would say that the school was harassing him about the children's weight. And the reason they lost weight is because they're much more active now. Okay. That's why. That's also why they were begging for food, because they're so active that they need all of this food now. I don't understand. So you do not consent to that name. Neither do I. It's baffling to me. So if you're just coming in, please do rewind, share the video. His mother's still being ignored. At the end of the day, she did file a lawsuit, and we'll get into that too. There's a lot that the injustice is insane. You wouldn't think that these things are actually happening in 2022 in our hub of the universe, New York City, to children and to mothers, but it is. It's happening right now, and they still don't give a shit. They're actively hiding this case from the public. They're ensuring that whatever Michael says is private. It's not being published. And Newsday doesn't even have a camera in there. They're just reporting on it. So we do have somebody in the Facebook group that is giving us daily summaries as well. So I'm putting all of that together, and we're going to keep pushing. Oh, the trial's already underway. Yeah, Anne, I can't imagine. Hug all of your babies. That's really the most important thing, because Justina never got to hug Tommy again. She never got to say goodbye to her baby, which is one of the biggest injustices that I could imagine. You know that something terrible is happening. You can't protect your kids, and you don't even get to hug them goodbye. The next time she saw him was at a funeral home. So if you go back and listen, we'll put it all together. And I will have the next part out ASAP, because I want to start covering the trial right away. No, the trial will never be live streamed. No. They fought against that. So no. So we will be covering what we can here on this channel live, and that will probably start sometime this week. So off I go. I love you guys. It is so far past my bedtime, but for Tommy, it was worth it. Thank you guys for coming in and sharing. I appreciate you.